Hi, welcome back to the Cumulus Cycles CSS tutorial series. In the last two videos, we looked at applying CSS using inline and internal styles, respectively. In this video, we'll apply CSS using external style sheets. When we say external, we mean that the CSS is contained in files which are external to the web pages they will be used in. And the way we include the external CSS into a web page is to use the HTML link element. Now, let's jump into VS Code and revisit the page we were working on in the prior internal CSS video. As previously noted, we include external style sheets into our HTML pages using the HTML link tag. The link tag has a rel attribute, which is set to style sheet, and an href attribute, which points to the path of the CSS file. And following the pattern of separation of concerns, which we looked at in the HTML tutorial series, we'll include our CSS in a .css file inside of a CSS folder. So I'll create a new folder, I'll call it CSS, and inside of that I'll create a new file called styles.css. So inside the href attribute, I need to set the path from the web page that's going to include the external styles to the path where that style sheet lives. So in our case, we need to specify the CSS folder, then a slash, and then the name of the file, which is styles.css. Now this link tag points to the styles CSS file in the CSS folder. And of course, if we look at the styles CSS file, it's currently empty because we haven't added any styles. But what we want to do is go back to the style block in our HTML and cut the styles from the block and paste them into the style sheet. We'll save that, go back and delete the style block from the head because we no longer need it, and revisit this page in the browser. Refresh, and we'll see that our styles are still applied. If I go back to the HTML and I delete the link to the CSS and go back to the browser, we only see the HTML rendered because we don't have a link to that external style sheet. So we'll put that back and save it so that we can reference the styles going forward. Now, let's see where the real benefit of using external style sheets comes into play. And that's when you have multiple pages on your website that you'd like the same styles applied to. So let's start by adding a new section with a link to a new page called about.html. We'll save this. I'll create a new file called about.html, and then I'll add some code. Now this page has some minor modifications to the index page where the content in the main section is different and it has a link back to the home page, index.html. However, it still has a link to the external style sheet. Change the title here. Save the page and go back to the browser. And here's our updated home page with a link to the About page. If I click the About page, we're taken to About HTML, and we see that the styles that we had originally applied to index.html are also applied to about.html because we put them in the external style sheet and we link to them from both web pages. If I go back to the home page, clearly we see the styles are still applied. And that's the big benefit of using external style sheets over inline or internal, where you can apply your styles to multiple pages on your website. That gives your pages a consistent look and feel, and it also makes them very easy to maintain. If you need to add or change a style across all pages in your website, you just go to the single style sheet, make the change to the style, and then it is applied on all pages which include that external style sheet. In the next video, we'll discuss the concepts of the cascading effect and order of specificity in CSS.